Hi, I'm Srikant Pragada. In this video, I explain how to use destructuring assignment in JavaScript. Let's get started. What is destructuring or destructuring assignment? It is a JavaScript expression that is going to copy the values from an array or an object into a set of variables. We also call it as unpacking. In some languages, notably like Python, we call it as unpacking. But in JavaScript, we also have more flexibility. So we need to understand how to use destructuring and how we can use default values in that process, and also how we can use REST syntax for the same. There are two different destructuring syntaxes. Destructuring an array, where you copy an array to set of variables, and also destructuring object. We can copy object properties to independent variables. So how does it work? Let's see by getting into our playground. The JavaScript playground is what we use. To start with, if you have an array and if you want to copy its values into two variables, you can do it in this way. You can say let a nums of 0 and then let b nums of 1. And then we need to display both a and b. So it is printing a and b. That's fine, but I can simplify the same process. I can say let in square brackets a comma b is equal to nums. It does exactly the same. So you're trying to destructure this nums, which is an array. So this contains two elements. The first element goes to A, second element goes to B. So you're copying the values of array into two variables. Can I give more variables than that? You can, but those variables don't get any value. So C is set to undefined because our array contains only two and there is no value for this. But if you extend this and put 30, automatically C gets that. It's also possible that you don't take a value, you can deliberately ignore a value. So you can simply say, I want to take only first and third. I'm not interested in second, by simply giving a comma and without any variable there. So now you're talking about first value going to A, third value going to C, second value is intentionally and deliberately ignored. This is how destructuring works. Another interesting thing about destructuring is the ability to specify default value. Look at this. I have only two elements in the array, but I want to copy two values into three. I don't have three, so I'm saying copy AB, copy 1020 into AB, and then as the third value may not be present, I don't know whether it is there or not sometimes. So if it is not there, I want this C to assume 30. This is called the default value for C. If there is no element in the array for the third variable, you should be putting 30 there. But if there is a third value, that is what we are going to have. For example, if I put 100, A10, B20, C will get 100. But if you don't have third element, C will get the default value, which is 30. This is very handy sometimes because you want to have three variables and their value should come from this. But if you don't have sufficient values, you want to have some default values. Well, it can be done for more than one variable. I can just put it like this and say this is just one element. So B gets 20, C gets 30. This is another interesting possibility. And the next one is using REST syntax. So have a look at this. I have four elements in my array. I want first one to go to A, second one to go to B, but the remaining all should go to C. And C is going to grab the rest of the elements. And these elements go to C. So if you see the output, 10 for A, 20 for B, and C is an array with two elements, 30 and 40. So that's the way we can grab the rest of the elements into one variable. But you must remember this is an array. Even if you have one, it is still treated as an array, not as a normal variable. Of course, you can combine the previous ones, like you can ignore that. So I'm saying I take 1 into A, second value is to be ignored, third onwards should go into C. So second one is null, third one and fourth one will go into C. That's the way you can combine them. So it is possible to destructure an array into multiple variables in this way. This is very interesting syntax, very widely used in good number of cases. Well, the same can be done even for objects. Let's see how it works. This is an object with two properties A and B, and I want to destructure that into two variables A, B. Now A goes to this, B goes to that. So A is 10, B is 20. Now, is it going by the order or is it going by the names? So if I put C, then you get null because, okay, I say C here. So here it is saying there is no C because I have A and B, only two properties. We are destructuring properties by their names. So property A goes to A, property B goes to B, but I don't give B, I'm giving C. It doesn't find any property called C. If you change this to C, yes, you get it. But if it is B, if the variable is C, it doesn't work. However, you want the variable to be C, but you want the value to come from B. Then you can say B colon C. That means you are saying, yes, I have a property called B, but I want the variable to be C. So you can change the name of the variable from the property's name by just giving a colon followed by the new name. So this is another interesting option. And as usual, you can have default values. So if I go back and say B and C is going to have 30, now I can print all three and you can see A is going to be 10, B 20. There is no property called C, so it's going to assume 30. So A, B, C are 10, 20, 30. Well, what about REST parameter or REST syntax with that? Well, even that is possible. So here we are, a small example for that. Now, A, B, C, D are the properties in the object. When you destructure, you want A to go into variable A, B to go into variable B, but the rest of the properties should go into C. So C is now another object. and this object is going to have C and D, two different properties. So this is how we can copy the rest of the properties into an object with the three dots. That is the syntax, the rest parameter syntax. And then the next possibility is sometimes we don't know the name of the property. So you can put the property name in a variable. It is not that common, but it could be very useful in some cases. This is the name of the property. Now we need to enclose that in square brackets. So I'm saying what I want to do is I want to take the value from this property, the property B, because this is B. So this will be internally converted to B, and I want the variable name to be N. So we are getting 20. If I change this to A, I will get 10. And if I change this property name to C, it's going to then evaluate this to C. So it's like writing directly C colon N, but I don't know the property name, and you can make it a little more dynamic by putting it in a variable and using square brackets for that. This is another possibility. Well, so that's about destructuring. I hope you learned something new. So this is how you unpack an array or an object, and it can be used even in the context of parameters to a function. There are so many other possibilities, but I just want you to get started with this. Hope you understood something new, you learned something new. Keep learning, keep growing.